Keep going, you're stronger than you know. The late afternoon sun melted across the cracked asphalt like molten gold, turning the little town's gas station into a slow-motion stage where ordinary lives met the blunt realities of luck and desperation. And Maya Cruz stood at Pump 4 with a minivan that coughed like a tired animal and a wallet that held nothing but small, stubborn hope. Her shift at the diner had bled into the afternoon, the tip skimpy, the schedule cruel, and a school supply list tucked into her son's backpack had planted a cold stone of panic in her ribs that morning. She counted coins with hands gone raw from too many late nights and too few guarantees, the smell of gasoline and frying oil wrapping around her like a memory she could not quite escape. Heat rose in wavering ribbons off the pavement, the hum of the highway stitched into the far horizon, and time felt thin, as if one more bad thing might shatter the careful, fragile thing she called survival. 3 men spilled out from the convenience store with loud boots and louder mouths, their laughter ricocheting off the canopy, their mockery small and precise as knives. They circled her like storm shadows, tossing insults about her van, her clothes, the assumption of loneliness, the kind of cruelty that tries to measure a person by their worst day. Maya's heart skittered. Fear sharpened the edges of everything. And for the first time that week she imagined herself unraveling right there between pump and curb, the thought of her little boy waiting at home enough to steady her breath. She tucked herself smaller, clinging to the nozzle as if it were an anchor, and the lot hummed with the kind of silence that comes before something necessary breaks. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Loom. The taunts grew teeth and the men reached, one careless hand snagging at the strap of her purse as if on a dare. Maya's pulse hammered against the inside of her throat, every instinct screaming to run and every obligation to stay tethered to the life she'd built for her child. Then the sound arrived, low at first, a distant thunder that wound tighter and closer until the station itself seemed to shiver with it. Motorcycles, a dozen engines rolling down the road like a metal wave. Chrome winked in the sunlight and leather folded around men who carried an old kind of authority in their bones. They parked with a poetry of motion, boots striking the ground in rhythm, machines roaring their own version of reassurance. The 3 men faltered. Bravado flickered and then failed under the press of presence. The leader stepped off his bike with silver braided through his beard and the kind of gaze that read everything without a question. His cut announcing who he was without words. He moved forward not with a challenge but like someone closing a door on danger. The bikers formed a slow, steady half-moon around Maya, their silence loud enough to rearrange the geometry of the lot. The aggressors found their courage evaporating in that gray wash of leather and chrome, their jeers shrinking to excuses, their posture folding under the simple, undeniable fact that they were no longer alone in the world. What followed was not a thunderous speech or a cinematic showdown but small mercies that landed heavier than any roar. The leader's look was not pity but recognition, the kind that acknowledges endurance. One of the bikers, hands rough with the work of machines and winter, slid a few bills into Maya's palm as if passing along something that had always been owed. Another popped the hood of her van, fingers that knew engines finding a loose wire and coaxing it back to life, topping off oil from a battered can with practiced, unceremonious care. Maya's tears came without sound, hot and sudden, not from humiliation but from the shock of being seen by strangers who required nothing in return. The men who had tried to make her small stumbled to their feet and retreated, tires hissing as they fled the station, leaving shame to stain the air they left behind. The bikers lingered only long enough to ensure the danger had truly gone. The leaders gnawed a brief benediction. Keep going. You're stronger than you know. They turned their engines over and, with a composition that felt like a blessing and a warning rolled into one, they melted back onto the highway, a pack of iron and compassion tracing the horizon until they were nothing but a memory in Maya's rearview. The rest of the afternoon held a strange, soft kind of repair. Neighbors she had never met slowed their own errands to check on her. A woman from the diner pressed a kind word into her hand, and Maya folded the folded bills into her wallet like a promise. The fear that had coiled low in her chest loosened its grip, replaced not with naive certainty but with a steady ember of faith. The world could still hold unexpected allies, and people could still choose to act. She started her van and felt the engine settle under a new expectation. That hardships would not evaporate, that rent notices and school lists would still loom like mountains, but that she had been marked, in a gentler way, as someone worthy of help. In the weeks that followed, small threads of kindness. An extra shift offered without question. A neighbor passing along hand-me-downs, a mechanic's discount, stitched a new pattern into her days, each act echoing that afternoon's impossible grace. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment, and tell us where you're watching from so we can appreciate you. When she tucked her son into bed that night, his hair smelling of laundry and toothpaste, Maya traced the outline of the day like a map. Fear at the pump, the rumble of engines, the quiet transfer of cash and human dignity, and the simple instruction that had landed like rain. Keep going. She did, not because saviors had erased the struggle, but because somebody had shown up and made her believe that the weight she carried could be carried with her for a while, that compassion could arrive in the least likely forms, and that sometimes salvation looks like leather and chrome and hands that know how to fix what's broken. In the hush after the engines died down, Maya folded the memory into her bones and let it warm the long road ahead.